Hello to all of you. For a very simple heart surgeon like myself, who's otherwise socially referred to as a plumber, I think, it's often a bit of an intimidating task to speak in front of a very young audience. Because on an average, I think you people would be somewhere between 25 to 30% cleverer than I am. So apart from my profession and interests in heart surgery, it is also my great passion to pursue issues that relates to health and society. Health care in all its problems and perspectives in general. So friends, the 1940s was a very interesting time in the era of world history. In 1940s, the world was just settling down from the end of a ravaging war, a crisis of civilization that was otherwise referred to as the Second World War. But do remember, in that span of time, the world was gifted with technologies like the jet engine. The computer came onto its own. The radar came onto its own. Medical science, antibiotics, etc. came into its own. And something else came into its own in the midnight of 15th of August 1947. That was our country of India. So we spare a few minutes to think about women's health, women's heart health overall, and how can we overcome the gender bias areas that are embedded in this field. In 1947, when a country of around 30-40 crores became independent, friends, we did not only wake up to a new dawn of political freedom, but we woke up to a new dawn of social freedom. From being little colonial statistics, each one of our forefathers became a citizen of an independent country with a right to life, with a right to well-being, with a right to exist. There was really no health care to speak of in India. In the pre-independence era, we had a smattering of a few medical colleges in Calcutta, in Mumbai, in Chennai. But other than that, for us to survive disease, heart problems, etc., was basically a very individual, a very elitist, and a very feudal concept. What happened to the rest of the society in general and women in particular was nobody's thought, was nobody's worry. So we were not really surprised to look back and say that in the 1940s and in the 1950s, the average Indian woman was lucky to be alive into the fourth decade, and the average Indian man was very lucky to be alive into the fifth decade. In the 1950s and 60s, what was the commonest cause of death of a young woman in India? The commonest cause of death, was it cancer? Was it heart? Was it breast disease? Was it infection? What was it? The women were cursed with one disease, and that was the disease of childbirth, being pregnant. About millions and millions of young women would just succumb because they had very primitive techniques of childbirth with no medical inputs, whether it was a complicated or an uncomplicated pregnancy. It took the country and it took the society some time to gradually get over that hump. We had rest of the medical problems around us. We did have our share of diseases that comes out of sanitation, diseases that come out of infection, diseases that come out of malnutrition. But as we moved on from one decade to the another, we had the problem of cardiac issues, heart disease, lifestyle-mandated disease staring at us. Why? As society improves, as the quality of life and living, as the socio-economic factors improve, we do certain things to ourselves that does not agree with the basic human machinery, that does not agree with the basic human physiology that we were born with. Let's look at ourselves. We are the same structure, both externally and internally. We still have the one brain, two eyes, one heart, 2 feet, 2 legs. We still have the same one stomach, one liver. We still have the same, about 10 odd feet of small intestine, 4 odd feet of large intestine, as our ancestors did. Were our forefathers growing rice, wheat, barley, sugarcane, etc.? Was that the way our systems were created? Our systems were not created to take in the refined carbohydrates, the sugars, the oils, the unsaturated fats that we are putting into the system. For 200,000 years of human machinery, agriculture is something which is less than 10,000 years old. So we have really changed ourselves beyond recognition. And both men and women has been susceptible to that problem. So India, in the 21st century, what is the commonest cause of health problems or death in women? Is it cervical cancer? No. It is breast disease? No. Is it childbirth? No. The commonest cause of mortality in an Indian woman today is cardiovascular disease, 60% of which comes from cardiac problems, and the other 40% comes from cardiovascular problems that may affect our brains and kidneys and elsewhere. So having realized that, it is extremely important to tell ourselves that if today we are empowered with that amount of knowledge, fair enough. What are we actually doing about it? Today we speak from a city. Today we speak from a rather sophisticated environment of urban India. Go around your city. Let us go around any of the diagnostic clinics and just take a head count. Ask any hospital, ask any clinic that of the last 100 health checkups you have done, how many of the 100 health checkups were that of women? And consistently, your answer will be less than 10%. I come from a healthcare institution that probably in any given day does more than 200 health checkups. And out of those 200 health checkups, we have a woman dutifully accompanying a man. The man is probably having a health checkup once every year. You just look to your right and look to your left and ask the very uncomfortable question that how often has your wife had a health checkup? You'll be greeted by stunning silence. So if we are to overcome that bias, then that bias can only be overcome if we look at ourselves, at our mothers, our sisters, our wives, each and every female member of the family, and make sure for once that they have the same facility, the same frequency of health checkups that we do to ourselves. We happen to be doing thousands and thousands of heart procedures every year, but we do it under a whisper. Because we know ourselves that the outcome, the clinical results and the outcome of treating heart disease in a woman is much worse than the results that we get in a man. Have we ever asked ourselves the question, why? You are doing the same operation, you are giving the same medicines, you are putting the woman on the same protocol. So why should the outcome of treatment of the disease be different? It is different because, and sadly, our average Indian woman presents to us very, very late. By the time you have detected diabetes in a 50-year-old Indian woman, it is not just your elevated sugar. Most likely the elevated sugar has already started affecting the heart, the kidneys, the eyes, the brain. Because we have been laid back. We have not looked at our wives and mothers, and we have not checked them up when the opportunity was there in front of us. So we have to be aware. So what today's India needs, what the fourth largest economy of the world today needs, what the country who is leading the presidency of the G20 group of nations today needs, is a standardized advisory and protocols by which across the society we have government health programs like the Ayushman Bharat Wellness Clinics. Today the healthcare delivery of our country, both at the national level and the state level, is trying to penetrate into the grassroots of society, both for the preventive medicine and for the treatment or the therapeutic medicine. But that news, that bit of information has to go round to the districts, has to penetrate into the villages to enable them to come forward and have a simple checkup. Have a simple checkup, a little drop of blood for a blood sugar, a blood pressure checkup once a year. That is all that is needed. And if we did it, then the cardiovascular disease burden of our country would come down significantly. India produces more than 2.5 lakh children every year who has congenital or inborn problems in their heart. Are we doing enough to cure those? We are only able to touch 10% of them. There is no ground for despair. There is no ground for despondency. Because it is up to us to carry the tenacity, to carry the perseverance forward. And whatever we notice is lacking, whatever we notice should be done, has to be done by us. If we have seen in our community, in our homes, amongst our relatives, that somebody we feel is not keeping well, has never had a health checkup, maybe in the last 10 years of their life, it is there the action begins. It is there each one of us will have to step in and intervene and start the problem detection phase from then. The programs will be there. The government programs will be there at the state and in the central level. And we would definitely implore, especially in non-metropolitan India, in rural India, that like we spread our political messaging, that the healthcare messaging also reaches out from home to home. It is a challenge, but given the challenge, we are certain that our healthcare performance, we will be as successful as the so-called developed Western nations have been Today, if you look at Europe, today, if you look at large parts of United States, it is absolutely true that with prevention like diabetes, blood pressure, body weight measurements, that their heart disease, cardiovascular problems, more so cardiovascular problems in women, have significantly reduced over the last 2 decades. Maybe we are playing a catching up game a little bit now, but we are going to get there. We do not have a choice. And before I end, friends, we need one very essential thing to improve health outcomes for women in India. And that is, we need the women in healthcare. At the medical college level, if you look at our country, at the medical college entrant level, 51 to 52% of the entire 100,000 people who get into medical colleges are deservedly young women. But by the time their time in medical colleges are finished, only half of them are there to execute the medical mission on ground. And that is something the society at large, and we men in particular, have to be aware of. We have to be aware of the fact that those young girls who've got into medicine, but they find it a very challenging task to manage their home. Many of them would get married by the time processes, to finish their medical education and come back to practice medicine, because it is their presence, it is their intellect, it is their empathy that is most necessary in society today. With little bits of wisdom and a lot of perseverance, I think there is no doubt in our mind that, like India has fought the battle and today reduced by 1/3 what used to be a most grotesque maternal mortality in the world, we have done it. We have accomplished it within the last 30, 40 years. We have reduced maternal mortality by a factor of 80%. And that was a great mountain to climb. And all of us, with the right effort, the right experience, and the right vision, will be able to tame the beast of heart disease in women, all their health problems today that challenges us. I'm sure India will overcome. Thank you.